Hello, and welcome to Reawaken the Dream, a course for writer moms. My name is Kathleen Spracklin, and I'll be your instructor for this course. This course is directed primarily at the young mothers who find that they just can't do anything with their dream of writing right now. They've always dreamt of being a writer. They know in their heart of hearts that they can be a great writer, but they just don't get to do any writing right now. Well, why? Because they have a family and children, and that's where their heart is. And so the family and children have to take first place. There's no question about that. And so they think that their dream of writing just has to be given up until later. You know, they sigh maybe and say, oh, well, and the kids are older, well, but I'm here to tell you that you don't need to be listening to those voices. I know that the voices can be loud. After all, weren't you always taught when you were learning about writing? Devote 2 hours a day minimum. Sit down with your writing in hand. And if you've got to write nonsense, but 2 hours a day, discipline, minimum. Well, in what world are you going to get 2 hours a day to write? So you buy into it, you believe it, and you just let your dream fall away. Well, I'm here to tell you, yes, you can write. You can write. I'm not going to wave a magic wand and give you 2 hours a day to write. I can't do that. But I can give you the ability to make quality use of what time you do get to write, even if that's only 10 or 20 minutes a day. It will add up. I promise you. You can write. I should be pretty clear about something right from the start. This is not a course on how to write. You're a writer. This does not invalidate any books you may have read on writing, any gurus that you follow. This is completely independent of that. This is a course in how to be able to write. How to be able to write in your current circumstances. Now, I'm speaking primarily to writer moms because that's how I got motivated to start the course, from a precious niece who is a mom and thinks she can't write. So I think she can, and I want her to be able to, so that's why I'm creating this course. But it's also open to anyone who's in that kind of a position where you can't write. Maybe it's a full-time job you've got and other responsibilities, and you only get that 10 or 20 minutes a day because of your other life circumstances. Join us. You're more than welcome. I have one person in my class for whom it's a health issue. This individual doesn't get very much time to write because, frankly, the energy to write, it just isn't there, except for maybe 10 or 20 minutes a day. So whatever it is that puts you in a position where you think you can't write because you can't give a solid block of time to writing, you are the person I've made this course for. You are the person that I want to help. My reward for teaching this class is you getting to write. Speaking of reward, I should tell you right up front, there's no charge for the course. The course is completely free and open on YouTube. No charge at all. Not only that, if you sign up for my email list, and you can find the link down below in the comments section to where you can sign up for my email list, then you will get a weekly video, a weekly email that will give you a PDF file, which is all of the information in the lesson in text form. In fact, I write the text out first before I record the video. So it's the same material that will be covered. You can review it in text form that way, and it's completely, that is also no charge. Just sign up for the email list and you'll get it. The weekly email will include a link to the video, so you don't have to go track it down. It will include a link to the PDF file, so you can go straight to it. So this course will run for 35 lessons. We're going to break it down into some sections. This introductory video is the first part, and then we'll spend 3 weeks on tools that will deal with your writing fragmentation, and then we're going to spend 28 weeks, a long time, and I'll explain why a little bit later, very soon, why that many lessons on the question of lining up the emotions that it takes to write with the time slots that you have available to write. That's the bigger problem, and there's a very, very practical, nuanced way of dealing that. I'll start explaining that in just a few moments. But first of all, just to recap, we know you have two problems: the problems of fragmented writing and the problem of getting your emotions going when it is time to write. And this course will give you 2 tools that will go directly at those 2 problems. You are going to feel that you have 2 superpowers once you get going on these tools. You really will. You will feel supercharged. And they're useful for other things too, but we won't go into that at all today. Okay, 2 very practical tools. This is not literary, this is practical. It's going to directly target the 2 problems. So the first problem that you face is a fractured writing session. Maybe you're in a situation where you can't write, you're cleaning house, you're doing the dishes, you're taking care of the baby, you're giving the kids a bath. You're not writing, but sometimes in the back of your mind, especially when you're not interacting with family, but you're just by yourself doing some chores, you got a story going on in your mind. And sometimes it's a pretty exciting story. And you're looking forward to, ooh, when am I going to get to sit down and write some of that? And then you get your chance and you sit down. Don't be racking your brain, well, how far back do I go to set this up? Because this is right in the middle. Don't worry about any of that. When you sit down, if that story's going on in your brain, you write it. You write it right where you are. You pick up right where you are. I promise you, the part that came before will come back to you, and you will write that part another time. And you will have the power of connecting threads, so you won't have any trouble connecting those pieces. It's like being able to write a castle in the air and then write the mountain it sits on later. Because this is creative writing. This is fiction. This isn't engineering. But just like an engineering project, you need a scaffolding. And we'll go over that. We'll give a hint of that at the very end with the homework assignment. We won't go into depth this time. We'll go into more depth in the 3 weeks where we cover in depth how to have the power of connecting threads. So what I want to go over next with you is this power of living characters. This is tackling that emotional issue. One of the things that we're going to draw on is we're going to draw very, very heavily on some recent scientific research that has a lot to do with where the emotions come from. Can we catalog the emotions? Actually, the fact of the matter is, yes, we can. Most of the emotions that we're talking about arise from different centers in the brain. And science has actually studied in great depth what centers of the brain. We know we have the frontal cortex, which is where we do our thought and our reasoning. But behind that, there's, they give them names like toddler brain. No, I won't. Mine. Or the animal brain. Ooh la la. More, more, more. Or the lizard brain. Oh, what? No, oh. But they bring up each part of the brain is responsible for delivering different emotions. And they've all been cataloged. And the interesting thing is that when you're looking at the lower brain, those lower brain functions are common to all of us. And we can actually identify 28 different struggles that arise in the lower brain, one of the lower brain centers. And the struggles turn out to be the interplay of the frontal cortex, the thought processes, against the information that's bubbling up from the other parts of the brain. Now, of course, the frontal cortex is infinitely variable, infinitely variable. It was part of the beauty of it. Every person is unique, every character and every story is unique. But the lower brain is much less varied in terms of what it's capable of delivering out. The degree to and intensity of the emotions varies, but which ones they are common to all of us. And we're going to study all 28 of them. Yes, you heard me right, 28. And we're going to take 1 week to do each. Now, I should mention that the lessons aren't very long. I'm going to make a concerted effort to keep the videos to 20 minutes in length or less. So it's not a long lesson. And as we study these character traits, you're going to have 4 exercises each week. Each exercise should take about 10 minutes. So the videos come out on Monday. You spend 20 minutes on Monday watching the video, get introduced to the emotion, get it all clarified and nuanced out so that you know what we're dealing with. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 minutes each, drilling on the emotion, how it reflects characters, how it would show up in scenes, how it shows up in decisions, so that you become, during the course of that week, you become a master of that emotion, because you're thinking about it. It's in the back of your mind. You're recalling things you read, things you've experienced, things you've observed, and it will play out through the duration of that week. And the fact that we have a whole week there will make you a master of that emotion. By the end of the week, I'll be able to pull up that trigger word, and you'll be able to actually feel and sense and hold that emotion in your hands. And likewise, if an emotion comes up that you remember or whatnot, by the time we have the whole vocabulary, you'll be able to hold that emotion in your hands and say, I can name that. I know what that emotion is. So it's going to really marvelously arm you. Then out of that repertoire of 28, we'll set up our characters. We'll put them on a diagram. It's really just only going to take 1 page per character. We'll choose 8 of those character traits per character. And they're going to go on a diagram. The main part of it is a circle. That's why I'm gesturing in a circle way. And we're going to find out that if the reasoning part of the brain, the frontal cortex, is just almost always in control when that emotion arises, so there's just not hardly any struggle there. That one's knocked. It'll be down here, a deeply seated character trait. It'll be low on the circle. And if it's one of those character traits that, man, the emotion arises and the emotion takes over in our character, and that's it. The emotion is everything, and reason goes out the window, then that's going to be up at the top of our diagram, because that's just almost non-present. It's very light in that character. But something really, really interesting happens at the halfway mark. And there's actually going to be 2 emotions. We're going to call them the wing traits. And what's interesting about at the halfway point is that the character is fully aware that they're making a decision. The character is fully aware of a struggle. The struggle takes place in the conscious mind, and a choice is made. Are you going to go along with reason and tamp down the emotions in the scene, or is the choice going to be made to give more sway to the emotion, and the level of chaos and drama will increase in the scene? So this will give you a lot of power to control the intensity of the emotions of your characters. And then the in-between ones, we'll explore those later too. All that we'll find that there are one inaccessible, the emotion wins, one that's really solid, 2 that are pretty much up for grabs, and then we'll have 4 more, 2 and 2, that we'll explain those positions a little bit later. But this library of emotions, when we put it out onto a chart, just 1-page chart for that character, because we know and understand those emotions so well, when you glance at that chart, and you visit those emotions. You walk around that circle and you touch and feel each one, and you know where the choices are. You're emotionally into the scene the minute you glance at that chart. And that's going to take away the problem of getting your emotional level ready to go when you only have 20 minutes to write. You'll glance at that chart. Oh yeah, I know where I was. And you'll be able to, just be able to go with it. So those are two super powers. And they're going to make it possible for you to really write, even though you can't change the circumstances of your life. Maybe they'll change it. I can't promise you that the circumstances of your life will change, but I can promise you is that the time that you have will add up. Because at a minimum, by the time you finish this course, and it runs 35 weeks in total, you'll know that an hour a week adds up, because it just did. It just added up to something. Your understanding of emotional vocabulary is through the roof. Your use of the Connecting Threads tool, which I'm going to hint at in just a moment, is through the roof, and you've got the power of it. So no matter what happens, you've got two superpowers, and you will be able to write. You will be able to. That's a promise. So each week you're going to have homework. So what's your homework this week? It's just an introduction. Well, the power of connecting threads, that power is going to come about through use of a note box. So we're going to spend the next 3 lessons setting up a note box. It's really important. It's an important tool, and we're going to go through how to do it, how it's going to help your writing, what you're going to track, how it's going to enable you to track, and a lot of other fun things you can do with it, although we'll just kind of hint at those because we're going to focus on what you're going to use it for writing. So what are you going to do? This week, your homework assignment is to assemble the materials that you need to build your note box. So what I want you to get is a shoebox, a plastic shoebox. You can get them at the dollar store. You can get them just about anywhere. They're very inexpensive. That's going to hold your notes. Then you're going to need a whole parcel of 4x6 white lined index cards. Think diapers. Think you'll need a few diapers in the course of the life of your baby? Diapers. Next, by the way, just go ahead and get 500 of those because you'll go through them, save yourself a trip. I'd say get about 300 of these colored index cards. When you look at these, think receiving blankets, think baby clothes. At first you're going to use more of these than diapers because baby isn't here yet. But these are really important to your structure, and we'll go through how these get used in our lesson next week. Get about 300. Then these guys, oh, are they fun. Neon colors. You're going to use less of these, way less of these than the pastels or the other colors. I'd say get a pack of 100 maybe. That should be enough to last you a long time. So these guys, we'll see where they fit in. They're lots of fun. And one more thing that you need for your note box, the last thing on the list, you need a set of alphabetic dividers. These don't have to be like these. They can be any 4x6 letters of the alphabet, and we'll see how these get used, not in the next lesson, but in the lesson after next. So you got 2 weeks before you need these. And that's all you need for your class. You need those for the tools. So I hope that you will come along for the lessons. Each lesson should be light. I'll try to keep them fun. The homework isn't very hard. You'll have no trouble doing the whole thing in an hour a week. And by golly, when those 35 weeks are done, you'll have quite an accomplishment. Lessons will come out every Monday. There will be 2 weeks where you won't get a lesson. December 25th of 2023 and January 1st of 2024. No lesson those 2 weeks. That's a 2-week break. And the last lesson will finish off on April 15th of 2024. It's a long time, but you can, if you need to, you can work at your own pace. You know, it's kind of like going through college. You go through and the time just goes by and voila, finally it's done. And that's far more important, obviously. That was your whole college career. But in a way, this is important too, because this is opening your dream. This is reawakening your dream, the thing you've always known you wanted to do. You're a writer. And I'm Kathleen Spracklin, caregiver to the Writer Mom. Thank you for joining me.